Hello, everybody, and welcome to Keep It Spiritually Simple. I am your host, Sandra McEllis, and I have the pleasure of being back with Maureen St. Germain. But before we start in on the topic we're about to talk about, I'd like to ask each and every one of you to please share your support by hitting like, subscribe, and share, whether you are on a podcast channel or on the YouTube channel. Don't worry about catching anyone's links. They will always be in the description afterwards. So let's tune in, because today I think our topic is going to be sovereignty. And the interesting thing about sovereignty is I'm very curious to see what Maureen has to say about it, because are we reclaiming it? Are we creating it? Do we need to be on a certain frequency to have it or obtain it or maintain it? And does it help us align, and does it help us balance? What exactly is sovereignty? Maureen St. Germain, welcome. Let us know what you think.
Well, thank you for having me back. It's a real pleasure, and I am delighted to work with you and your audience. And the answer to your question is all of the above. And it's so lovely because I feel like you're so aligned with the information that I am receiving and the importance of something like sovereignty. You know, last time we talked about the higher self and how important that is because it helps build your connection to the real you. And sovereignty is the next level above that. In that, once we know our own divine self, then we are learning to express it outward. You know, it's a funny thing, but one of the ways we express sovereignty is to draw boundaries. And as women, we tend to overgive, overproduce, and we don't realize that we might be actually creating a problem by being too generous. So sovereignty forces us to say, look, I need you to take out the trash every month, every week, whatever it is, without me asking. Because if I have to keep asking, then I feel like I'm your mom. But if you just know that that's your responsibility, that's me expressing a boundary. Whereas before, for example, in my case, I actually thought he would notice what I notice and do something about it. I have learned that men's tolerance for chaos is greater than a woman's.
That's a good one. Yes.
Yeah. So sovereignty is all about knowing what you want. And that's another thing, you know, as we expand on this idea, we are reclaiming, but we're co-creating in this reality because we haven't done that in this reality. And maybe our parents haven't done it or our grandparents haven't done it. So there's nobody to follow other than people that we talk to, people like you, people like me, who recognize that sovereignty is a way for humanity to begin to be good to humanity. Because if I'm sovereign, it must mean you're sovereign. And that must mean I need to honor what your boundaries are, the same as I expect you to honor mine.
Mm-hmm. Well said. I know for me, sovereignty means taking ownership of self, being responsible for the me, myself, and I, and where I am in this place at this moment, and take responsibility for all the things that I participated in and offer forgiveness for maybe a lack of knowing or whatever it is, but to also know that I don't have to follow the same lifestyle my mother did, my siblings did, their mothers did, and so on and so forth. So breaking the patterns of this doesn't work for me. Now, back in the day, it used to be people waited until maybe they were in their 40s and it would be called coming into your own, where you're like, I'm not doing it like that. I'm doing it my way. But we are in an energetic place right now where sovereignty of each individual self, I think, is very important, because without individual sovereignty, we cannot be a sovereign collective.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it is my understanding that as we develop our own inner compass, our own inner guidance, whether it's the higher self or some other means that you use in meditation, this allows you to step into your true power. And what a lot of people don't realize is we have been programmed by example, as you have described, by our moms, by our fathers, by our grandparents, and we don't recognize that we can choose to step out of that. You know, there's a funny phrase that a few friends of mine have used. I'm a recovering Catholic. I'm a recovering engineer. I'm a recovering nurse. And what they're really saying is, I'm stepping out of the paradigm that was created that represents that, and I'm choosing something different. And how awesome is that?
Very awesome. I like to be very post recovery. Like that's all done. I'm running the fields, figuring it all out now. No programming, please. Let me create my own programming.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's talking about programming. There's programming coming through the Wi-Fi. There's programming coming through your television and your cell phone. And one of the ways that you can address that is to go in the park where there is no cell phone service and have a walk in the park, and you'll have an opportunity to ground, connect with Mother Earth, and tune to that vibe. And at night, you can either unplug your Wi-Fi or put it on a timer. And
Mhm.
what that does is drops the level of influence. Now, some people are super sensitive to Wi-Fi, including me, and I actually could hear it. And I remember coming to bed one night and it was so piercing. I asked my guides, "What is that?" And they said, "Well, that's your router." So I got up out of bed and unplugged it. And the next day, my husband put a timer on it, so it would always shut off at a certain time. And I like that because sometimes I would just keep working or keep reading or watching a movie. So the router kind of tells us, okay, time for bed. And that's kind of funny because we don't always think about that when we start the next thing. So turning that off at night is very important because the Wi-Fi signal in your home, if you have a wireless signal in your home, and many people do, it actually gets louder at night. And the reason it gets louder at night is even if the company that is pushing that signal through doesn't change anything. The fact that there aren't any kids playing video games, people aren't doing their business work. So all that pressure on that system is relieved and it comes in a lot stronger. So, you know, if you can, find a way to turn off your Wi-Fi. And if you can't, then draw an energetic wall around your bed or your bedroom or your home that limits the ability of the Wi-Fi to come through. And that is effective.
Mhm.
One time when I lived in a really tiny apartment and I was holding classes, it was a studio apartment. And what I did is I energetically pushed the walls out. Again, you imagine the walls wherever they are. And in the case of the Wi-Fi, you would simply see a layer of like metal screening or a Faraday cage come up and limit the ability for any signals that are not of 100% God light, any signals that are harmful to humans, to be antidoted before they can get to you. And, you know, you take it down during the day if you need to have that Wi-Fi signal working, but that does make a difference.
I think so too, because I believe that people are removed from understanding that they are an electrical, magnetic, physical structure
Mhm,
in the flesh and the bones and the energetic body. And
mhm,
so, with all these interferences, we have stagnation and distortion of our own personal energy. So, it's like self tasering constantly, right? It scrambles the natural pulse and the rhythm and derails a lot of this connection between the mind, body, spirit, because it's a destructive when it's on overload. And the example of that is just having these Apple Watches or cell phones that we won't even go to the bathroom without. It's an appendage. And so even when we say go into the woods, and commune with Mother Earth, meaning the ground, the minerals, the rocks, the trees, the breeze, and to allow yourself to self-calibrate. People are carrying their phones into there as well, because number one, they're for, oh, I can't get help. Number two, I might miss a call. Number three, I might want to take a picture, right? So we don't even go into nature or into these spaces where we honestly have a break. And you're not going to know what that break is until you actually break free from it and feel it, see it, and connect to it. So I love the fact that you're saying, hey, if you can't get away from it, put it on a timer at night so you don't have to think about it. Give your body a break from its inundation, because it's all those invisible waves that are going through the air. It's like putting yourself in a microwave. You're living in a microwave in this world of electronics. What would you say to that?
I actually interviewed a lady once who had built a house next to these high tension wires. And when you say, you're putting yourself in a microwave, that's what she ended up feeling like. And she actually wrote a book about it. And her name is Beth Stuyvesant, I think. And what I can say is everything that's being beamed at us at this time is meant to hold us back. It's meant to slow our progress and to keep us from achieving what we need to achieve. And the evidence of that is that our spirituality has not kept up with our technology. If we were a truly advanced civilization, like we kind of pretend that we are, our spirituality and our technology would be at parity, and they're not. Our spirituality has lagged way behind, even to the point where our traditional religions have refused to be expansive. In science, do we say, well, we know that such and such isn't true anymore because we have better technology, we have better microscopes, we have better equipment. We now know this, whereas in olden times we knew this. But do we do that in religion? Do we do that in the rules that religion guides us with? No. And so that's why it's literally a form of a lockdown to hold us in place. And so as we pop out of this, and I think people are popping out of it, we begin to look around and we realize that there were so many constraints on so many ways of living that we really do have free will, but we haven't practiced it. And that's what sovereignty is about. It doesn't mean doing whatever you want all the time. Sovereignty says, I'm sovereign and so are you. So I'm not going to do something that causes you harm as a sovereign, but I am going to do stuff that makes me happy, even if it leaves you behind. Like if I want to go exercise and you don't feel like it and we live together, I'm just going to go. And you're going to be fine with that. That's two sovereigns. But somebody who's not sovereign might say, well, I was hoping you'd watch a movie with me, or I wanted you to fix my dinner, or I was hoping you'd drive me to the market. You see, so it changes the vibe. And you say, well, I'm sorry, I scheduled myself to do the exercise. And that's true sovereignty. And when we put that into relationship, it's very powerful, because that's where we can really practice sovereignty with one other person, so we can get used to what that means in ourselves and in another, and then as we expand to humanity.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying about the, harming another, without having that respect for those boundaries and their alignment and where they are and their growth and their journey, and understanding that that's their definition of their sovereign as you are respecting yours. And it's the do no harm rule. I mean, I live by it. And people will say, well, what does that mean? And I go, well, it means it starts with my thought. And so if my thought isn't of a higher caliber, or it could be something negative about you or something that's around me, then it carries into my body language, carries into maybe how I vocally express it. and it carries into what you may translate as my attitude, or it's either heartfelt or it's not heartfelt. And it gets me further and further away from the essence of just being in more of a loving, compassionate, respective place where I don't have the judging of others, because that is harmful to them, but it's also harmful to me, because this apparatus has got to learn how to work its devices, right? And I want to be free. Let's say I want to be free of whatever construct that I've been raised in, and I want to start anew. I have to align myself with that, with the help of my higher self, my guide team, talking with people like you who are spiritual teachers and authors who have experience, who share this, who offer tools and protocols for people to come and just take a look see and make a choice if this is for them or not for them. But we have to tap into how that feels in our body. And when you feel more free, you don't want to go back down to being locked, chained, twisted, or tied, because your body becomes contorted. Every cell becomes contorted, right? And now you're further from being sovereign because you haven't unlocked yourself.
You know, this business of unlocking yourself is very, very true. And many people carry in their heads the voice of one of their parents. And a therapist friend of mine was telling me that he was in a men's group at one point, and he had a client that he was counseling, and the man was going on and on and on about his father, and you know the judgment and the drama. And the therapist friend said to me, so I said to the guy, "How long has your father been dead?" 12 years. And the therapist said, "You've been giving free rent to your father for 12 years?" And the idea of giving someone free rent because you're judging them or you're letting them judge you is huge. It's like really graphic. Oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. So that's one way we can learn to pay attention when we're letting someone else rule us, you know, and many people who are desirous to be the best they can be are worried that someone might find fault with them or that they might criticize them. And I've found myself paying attention to what other people might think and wanting to make an excuse for, well, you know, I couldn't get this to work, you know, and Zoom and I don't get along, or, you know, some kind of excuse. And the true sign of sovereignty is when you don't give an excuse. You just say, look, I'm sorry, I'm late. And that's not so easy to do because other people expect us to explain ourselves. And when we choose to stop explaining, stop making excuses, it changes everything. Sovereignty even goes into how we teach our children. One of the things that I've written about in my book, Waking Up in 5D, is stop teaching your children to say, I'm sorry. And that's huge because most parents think that that's part of their obligation to train their children to say, I'm sorry. But I'm sorry creates an unequal situation. So a little kid accidentally knocks a kid over, maybe does it on purpose. And now the kid's crying and the perpetrator is standing there, you know, taking it in, and the adults come in and they say you're sorry. Say you're sorry. Say you're sorry. And maybe the kid is thinking, you know, he insulted me. I'm not saying I'm sorry. He started it because he hurt my feelings. When you teach the children to say, are you okay? It levels the playing field. There's no longer this unequal place where the perpetrator has to step up and say, I'm sorry. So are you okay? That doesn't make me bad or wrong, and it doesn't make the other child bad or wrong. When you give them that opportunity, are you okay? Then the child who was injured is able to say, no, I fell, I hurt my knee, I'm bleeding. And then that gets to be acknowledged. It's about acknowledgement. It's not about I'm sorry, because I'm sorry doesn't acknowledge. It just gives me power in that moment to say I'm sorry. But this is a very powerful thing to create in a family. And I still see my own sons, who are adults and raising their own children, say first, before anything, "Are you okay?" How powerful.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, you're a pioneer. You had foresight. So you switched some things around and you didn't repeat the parent syndrome that we get into, because sometimes we don't realize how much we are parroting the parent from the subconscious to the conscious, and have no clue that how we responded to something was exactly the way it was a learned behavior from when we were younger. So it does give us an opportunity as a sovereign parent or an adult to start responsibly walking and talking like a sovereign being. So we set the example for others and the children, whether they be our children or other people's children. I think that's a perfect example because we are taught, "I'm sorry." And so that's supposed to get everybody in a comfortable position. But the person that's saying, "Say you're sorry," really doesn't know how that whole thing came about. So "I'm sorry" can also say, "You're at fault and you're at fault," or "I'm at fault, you're not." So saying, "Are you okay?" and leveling it, and then being able to unravel, because we already know everything's stuck in that fifth chakra, pressuring down the heart, and an adult holds the power on whether we can justify what we just did or not. And we carry that into our adulthood,
Hmm. Brilliant,
right?
positively. Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So how are
And
some of the ways we can get ourselves sovereign? Is there a frequency we're supposed to be on? Is there a feeling that comes with it? I mean, like, you know, when we become aware that we are encapsulated and enslaved by habits that we've gotten ourselves into, or constructs or boundaries that we did not set, we are fenced into a lifestyle that we're living at this current moment. We wake up, we realize that we're enslaved in this fenced in border. How do we then maneuver through there so that we can understand what sovereignty is, and move towards that with less effort, so we can develop those feelings of, I'm creating some freedom.
mhm. Well, again, I believe that the fastest way we do these things is in relationship, either with our best friend or our parents or our siblings or our spouse. And I love what you said about habits and boundaries and frequency. And I'm going to say something really radical and say, you can go into chat and tell the story of what you think is going on. And chat's a very good mirror. So it's going to give it back to you in a much bigger, broader way. And then you can say to chat, how can I fix it? How can I address it? And chat will actually give you a protocol. When this happens, do this. Or maybe you need to create a list, or maybe you need to sit down and define in your meditations. And it is so astounding to me how much, I'll use the word psychology, that a chat bot could give you to step out of your lockdown from sovereignty. And so consider that the mirror of chat, and that's what it really is in that case, helps you to get a bigger perspective and also to own your stuff, just to own your stuff. And I have noticed when now I have a chat that I've created for myself, but and I've given it certain kinds of programming so it moves in a certain direction. But I like to know why what I'm saying is triggering someone or why they're triggering me. And when you throw it into chat, it usually gives you a pretty good picture. And that's a leap forward. Even though it's AI, it actually helps us to elevate up. And it's a different kind of IA because it isn't being controlled by some outside programming. When I first realized how much programming was coming through the wires and through the air, I tuned into it, and it was two things. It was reject, reject, reject. So whatever you currently believe is what you're going to continue to believe, because anything new you're going to reject. And then forget, forget, forget. And so even if you are inspired, then you forget. And those two programs are so pervasive. If you start looking around, you can see people who are being influenced by it. And one of the really big problems is what we're seeing on what I would call mainstream TV, where we're being inundated with certain information over and over. And so as people begin to take more of their own sovereignty back, they recognize that they have allowed control and belief systems to manage them, and that they don't need to anymore.
Mhm. I love the fact that you just brought up Chat GPT and AI, because there's all this mixed things about good, it is evil, it is and that. And so this is how I look at it. And I get very visual. And so it's like there's this huge, quantum type computer, and it's listened to everybody's conversations everywhere, and it gathers it all in there. And then you can go to it and you can put your questions in, and you can get a multitude of responses: good, bad, different, neutral. So, like, for example, let's say I want to buy a car. I don't know what kind of car I want. So I'm going to have to go do my research on my car. I'm going to Google it. Now I'm going to go ask friends what they like and buy. I'm going to see what's on the road. I'm going to go to all these different car dealerships. I'm going to get this salesperson, this owner's perspective. I'm going to drive this car. I'm going to drive that. And I'm going to do this multitudes of times. Or I can simply tune into Chat GPT, ask it its questions, and find out what all of those dealerships, what different salespeople, what different friends and family, or known and unknown, may have said, and then narrow down a choice or choices that I would make. So I look at that as a compliment, because it also uses words that you may not have thought of that expand on how you want to explain something or understand something, so that you can translate on a different level than just the everyday words that you have stuck in here. Because let's face it, we get stuck on our same phrases. We get stuck going to the closet and just picking out what's in the front of the closet. You mentioned before, sometimes we wear the same jewelry, every single thing with that, don't change it, right? We get stuck on all these different inset programs that we've done for ourselves. Chat GPT allows you to scroll through the closet and find some other things that might be there, or look through the InStyle magazine that's in our closet, or find out what car or what topics are hot, or answers that we may seek. And you take them in just as information. It may resonate and it may not.
Well, one of the things that this particular tool will do for you is force you to identify what you care about. If you ask Chat, what kind of a car should I buy? Chat's going to ask you questions like, well, do you need a sedan, or do you need an SUV? Do you have a dog? And those kinds of questions that you think are, well, everybody has the same need I do, but they don't.
Right.
And so when we take the time to ask the questions, and the more questions we pose, the more parameters that we name, the more closely we will find the information that we need. So one thing that I really feel very intrigued by is a statement that someone else said, and they talked about fire. And they said, did we invent fire? No, we discovered fire. And then he said, we didn't invent artificial intelligence. We discovered it.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been there.
Mhm.
And that idea, which I haven't quite grokked yet, is profound. What do you think about that?
Well, I think what's been hidden is being uncovered. And
Mhm.
I think that we're going to find more and more things that are available to us that we're going to discover. And then we're
Mhm.
going to create through the discovery.
Mhm.
That's how it just sounds to me, that, and I always answer straight off the cuff. So that's what's coming through me.
Nice, very nice. I agree. I agree. And it kind of it gives us permission to create and layer and at the same time limit the influence that the AI has because now we know. You know, if you want to go out with a friend and you don't know they're a vegetarian and you take them to a steakhouse and they don't have anything that they can eat, you feel bad. But if you ask the question, well, what kind of food do you eat? Then you know what kind of a restaurant to go to. So the
Mhm.
resource of artificial intelligence is the idea that it gives you more information so that you can get more clarity about who you are and what you want. And as you said earlier, we're so programmed by what our parents did, what they said, what our grandparents did and said. We don't even realize when we're programmed that we could choose otherwise.
It's a lot to unpack here. Yet it's so simple, but we just have to open our eyes to the fact that we've been shrunk. You know, the expandability has been limited. And we are now not only getting out of the box, walking around the box, we're walking away from the box.
Yeah, I like that part. We're
And
walking in the
we're
box.
walking away from the box, right? And at least some of us are, some still need to touch it, see it, know that it's just over there. It might be a mile away, but they know they can run back to it if they need it. But once you have that freedom, you realize that box, it 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 encapsulated you so that you couldn't stretch and move. It was like a very tight leotard that wasn't allowing your skin, your mind, your body to move and breathe. And who wants to get back into that? Nobody. Once you've got freedom, you're going to go with it and you want to explore. So why not look at AI? Why not investigate and discover your own sovereignty? Now, I think you've got some writing on this too, do you not?
Yes, and I'm actually my next book is Sovereignty in the Fifth Dimension. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, so everybody needs to keep an eye out on when that comes
And
to light. I assume it'll be on audio and hard copy.
right. And my blog posts also have some good information on sovereignty that will help us. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now let's talk about your website. What's your website's name? And we will put this down in the description.
St. Germain Mystery School.
Mhm.
Com, and
Yeah.
we have a very small uh, homepage, but as you click on various links, modules, a blog post, store, it expands quite a bit. And we have our oils that are made for transformation, emotional transformation. We have a number of CDs that are actually the CDs aren't on our website anymore because they're in the app. The
Mhm.
guided meditations are all in the Illuminate app. And we have many Akashic Records guides who have been trained by me and who have offerings. We also have people who do clearing work, and we didn't really touch on that, but
Let's touch on that. Let's touch on it.
okay.
Take a minute.
So clearing work is super important. We have a number of people that do various kinds of clearing work, entity clearing, space clearing. We have individuals that have been doing past life overlay, the stuff that's bled through. You referred to that at some point. And all of these people are vetted. So that means you can know that even though they're working on you from the distance, and even though you don't know exactly what they're doing, you can know with absolute certainty that they are doing this work. Some of these people have been with me over 20 years, and they're highly regarded. We do not put anyone on our website that's not highly regarded. And we don't get a percentage. It's not like we're taking, a piece of the action. Our goal is to get the word out to high caliber people about high caliber people, and they pay a small advertising fee, but that's it. So you can know that it's not like I'm being paid to promote this guy, if you know what I mean.
Yes, of
It's more
course.
like we know these people and we trust them.
Well, thank
So
you for
we have
clarifying that because that's important to know. People like to know, oh, well, she's only referring because, she makes
she gets
money
a
off of
piece,
it. So
she
that's
gets
good
a
to
cut, right?
clarify. Yes.
Right. And then we also have digital courses that have been recorded, and people can watch them anytime they want. And that includes the Merkaba, higher self training, and lots of other kinds of courses, sacred geometry. And then we have live classes. And the live classes are starting this in September, late September. And we're going to be offering a 6-month program for learning how to open the Akashic Records, where you'll be trained, and then you'll have mentors, and you'll have other cohorts in your class that you can practice on. And there's nothing like working with somebody who's not your friend, because they'll tell you the truth, and they'll also give you positive feedback that you need to hear. And they're not doing it to be nice. They're doing it because
Right.
it's true. And that's a wonderful program, and we've gotten so much good work out of that. And so that's the main part of our website. And of course, we have the books that are on Amazon and in bookstores you can find anywhere. So there's a lot out there.
You have been doing this a long time, you wise sage, you.
I have. It's true.
Well, you came in sweeping your own path early, getting the debris out of the way so you could do the solar dance with what you agreed to do. And some of us came out way earlier than others and are like more advanced. And I love that about you because I feel like you are a wise sage and you've walked your walk and you've shown it through your work. And I have personally met you, so I can vouch for your authenticity of kindness and love and your wisdom. And, it's like we said before in the other show that everyone should go back and watch about higher self connection. It's you can meet somebody and you gravitate towards them and you're like, boom, you're in this deep conversation and the rest of the room is a blur, you know? And I think that's how you and I felt when we met. So
Mhm.
thank you for being on your authentic path and thank you for paving the way for others. So, we all have our lessons to learn, right? But at least you have provided tools and protocols for people to help them get to the next level and to assimilate a little easier with less bumps, bruises and bumps, frustrations and exit stage left, because it's not easy work because you're going blind. You're walking through the void. And so to have someone like you who has prepared and presented and puts it out there for people to take a look at that. So thank you for sharing that with everyone. We appreciate you.
Thank you. And, we need you to help us get the word out. So thank you for your part. Very,
Thank
very
you.
important.
Thank you. I never thought I'd be doing this. Spirit said, YouTube channel. I'm like, what? And here we are. I just do what I'm told because it always feels right. It always works out. That's why I don't pre-rehearse anything. That's why you and I jumped on here and it's like we just bounced. So here we go. All right. So if you want to learn more about sovereignty, you want to learn more about how to get on your path, how to learn Akashic records, how to maybe do some things that we didn't talk about today. You can get in touch with Maureen. And again, her descriptions will be in her information links will be in the description. And always comment and ask questions in the comment section so that I can look at them, and then maybe we can ask them the next time Maureen graces us with her presence, because she has a very busy travel schedule. So I feel so lucky that I've had time with you today.
Thank you. My pleasure. And
Yeah.
truly, it was an honor to meet you in person and to participate in the dissemination of this wonderful information.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. All right, everybody, much love, and we will see you on the next segment of Keep It Spiritually Simple. Bye.